Under the towering shadows of ancient baobab trees, the village of Kamoya rested in tranquil isolation. The trees stood like watchful sentinels, their gnarled trunks whispering secrets of ages past, their roots reaching deep into the soil that carried the memories of countless generations. The winds, soft yet persistent, carried voices, songs of ancestors, warnings from the past, and the quiet hum of nature's balance. At the heart of Kamoya, a shrine rose like a timeless monument, humble yet majestic. Inside this sacred space, a wooden chest sat, its surface adorned with intricate carvings of wild beasts, swirling winds, and cascading rivers. Each stroke of the carving told a story, each image a warning. The chest, bound by heavy iron locks, was more than just an object, it was a legacy. For generations, the villagers had been told the same truth: the chest must never be opened. It held the chaos of the ancestors they had sealed away to protect the world from their greed and arrogance. Despite its ominous aura, the chest stirred something in Zuri, a young woman with fire in her heart and dreams as vast as the skies above. Zuri was no stranger to the whispers of the village. She had heard the tales of the chest since she was a child. Yet, where others felt fear, Zuri felt curiosity. Her gaze often wandered to the shrine, her heart thudding in her chest at the thought of what lay inside. To her, the chest was not just a relic, it was a doorway. One afternoon, while the sun blazed mercilessly overhead, Zuri stood by the river, staring at her reflection. "Why must we be bound by what they call tradition?" she murmured to herself, her words drowned out by the rushing water. "The world is so much bigger than this village, and yet we are told to remain still like stones beneath the river." Makalo, her elder brother, appeared behind her, his shadow stretching long against the ground. "Zuri," he called, his voice steady and commanding. She turned, startled, and quickly straightened her posture. "Makalo," she greeted, her tone cautious. "You've been wandering near the shrine again," he accused, crossing his arms over his broad chest. "Do you think the spirits do not see? Do you think the ancestors do not watch?" Zuri bristled, her curiosity flaring into defiance. "And what have the spirits done for us lately, brother?" "The rains do not come. The crops wither. Perhaps what lies inside the chest is the answer we need." Makalo's jaw tightened, his eyes narrowing. "Do not speak such foolishness. The chest is not ours to open. It is a reminder, a warning from those who came before us. To touch it would bring ruin to us all. And what if it brings salvation?" Zuri shot back, her voice rising with each word. "Have you ever wondered, Makalo? Or are you too afraid to question the stories we've been told?" The silence that followed was heavy, punctuated only by the rustling of leaves in the breeze. Finally Makalo spoke, his tone low and somber. "Zuri, your curiosity will be the end of you, and perhaps all of us. Let this be the last time I hear you speak of the chest." The village gathered that evening under the shade of the largest baobab, where Nana Wanja sat upon her woven mat, her presence commanding yet gentle. The elder's voice rose like the wind, weaving a tale of caution. "The chest was not made by human hands," she began, her tone heavy with gravitas. "It was forged by the ancestors themselves, born of their hubris and regret. They sealed their greatest mistakes inside, locking away greed, betrayal, and chaos. It was their gift to us, their children, a lesson to teach restraint and humility." The villagers nodded solemnly, their faces illuminated by the flickering light of the fire. But Zuri, seated on the edge of the crowd, felt her mind racing. Her thoughts swirled with possibilities, her curiosity growing stronger with every word Nana Wanja spoke. Late that night, Zuri found herself drawn to the shrine, her feet moving as if guided by an unseen force. The moon hung low in the sky, casting a silver glow over the sacred space. She knelt before the chest, her fingers tracing the carvings that seemed almost alive under her touch. As her hand hovered over the iron locks, a faint rustling broke the stillness. She froze, her breath caught in her throat. Out of the corner of her eye, a figure emerged from the shadows, a form neither fully human nor spirit. It moved with an eerie grace, its presence both menacing and oddly familiar. "Zuri," the figure whispered, its voice like a serpent's hiss. "You seek answers, do you not?" "Who are you?" Zuri demanded, her voice trembling. "I am a guide," it replied cryptically. "One who knows what lies within this chest. Power, freedom, everything you desire." Zuri's heart pounded. The figure's words echoed the very thoughts she had buried deep within. "And what price must be paid for such freedom?" she asked cautiously. The figure chuckled, a sound that sent shivers down her spine. "That is for you to decide, child. But know this, your destiny lies within this chest." As the figure vanished into the night, Zuri remained kneeling before the chest, her resolve hardening. She would find the answers she sought, no matter the cost. The drought tightened its grip on the village, leaving cracked earth and empty bellies in its wake. Whispers spread like wildfire whispers that perhaps the chest held the key to salvation. Some called for it to be opened. Others warned of the chaos it would unleash. Amidst the growing tension, Zuri found herself at odds not only with her brother, but with the entire village. Her visits to the shrine became more frequent, her connection to the chest deepening. Each night she dreamed of the shadowy figure, its voice urging her onward, its promises growing more enticing. The village stood on the precipice of despair, and Zuri knew that the weight of their hopes and fears now rested on her shoulders. She would have to make a choice, one that would alter the fate of Kamoya forever. The night air was thick, carrying the distant hum of cicadas and the rustling whispers of baobab leaves. Zuri tossed and turned on her mat, her mind unable to find rest. In her dreams, the chest glowed with a golden light, the carvings alive and shifting as though they were breathing. From within the light, a shadowy figure emerged, cloaked in mist and power. "Zuri," it called, its voice both commanding and soothing, like the lull of a drumbeat. "Do you not long for answers? Do you not wish to free your people from their suffering?" Zuri's breath quickened, her heart caught between the pull of curiosity and the weight of fear. "Who are you?" she whispered, her voice trembling. "I am the one who knows your heart," the figure replied, stepping closer. "Your dreams of freedom, your desire for change, they are not foolish. The chest holds the answers you seek. Open it, and you will see." The dream faded, but its echoes lingered. Zuri sat upright in the dark, her hands trembling as she clutched her knees. The night offered no comfort, only the haunting reminder of her dream and the chest that now consumed her thoughts. Determined to find clarity, Zuri sought out Nanawanja the next morning. The elder sat beneath the shade of the ancient baobab tree, weaving a basket from dry reeds. Her presence exuded wisdom, and her silence carried the weight of years gone by. "Nana," Zuri began hesitantly, bowing her head in respect, "I need to speak with you." Nanawanja did not look up, her hands steady as they worked. "Your eyes are troubled, child. What brings you here so early?" Zuri hesitated before blurting out, "The chest, I have been dreaming of it. I saw a figure in my dream and it spoke to me. It said the chest holds the answers we need." Nanawanja froze, her hands halting mid-motion. Slowly she raised her gaze, her eyes piercing into Zuri's soul. "You have seen the shadow," she said quietly. "That is no small thing. What does it mean, Nana?" Zuri pressed. "Why do I feel this pull toward the chest?" Nanawanja sighed deeply, setting the basket aside. "The chest is not what you think, Zuri. It is a test, a warning left by the ancestors. They sealed away their mistakes, their greed, and their chaos. Only one chosen by the ancestors can open it, but the price is more than you can imagine." Zuri leaned forward, her voice urgent. "But what if it is the answer we need? The village is suffering. The drought grows worse every day. Curiosity can be a sharp blade, child," Nanawanja warned, her tone firm. "It cuts deep, and often, it wounds the one who wields it. Leave the chest be, for the sake of us all." But Zuri's heart was already racing, her mind already wandering. The elder's words planted more questions than answers, and the seeds of temptation had taken root. Makalo's voice was like thunder as he confronted Zuri later that evening. "You went to Nanawanja, didn't you?" he demanded, his arms crossed tightly over his chest. Zuri stood her ground, her chin held high. "And if I did? What is it to you? You are playing with fire, Zuri," Makalo roared. "The chest is not yours to meddle with. Do you think you know better than the ancestors?" "I think the ancestors are gone," Zuri shot back, her voice rising. "They left us with stories and warnings, but what good are those when the crops die and the people starve?" Makalo's face darkened, his jaw tightening. "You speak of dishonoring the ancestors as though it is nothing. You forget who we are, Zuri. This village survives because we follow the traditions that have kept us safe. And what if those traditions are chains?" Zuri countered, her eyes blazing. "What if there is another way, one that doesn't rely on fear and silence?" Their argument echoed into the night. the rift between them growing deeper with every word. Makalo turned and walked away, leaving Zuri standing alone, her heart pounding with anger and defiance. That night, the shadow figure returned in her dreams, its form now clearer, its voice softer. It took the shape of a man one Zuri recognized from the stories, an ancestor who had been a leader long ago. "Zuri," the figure said, its tone almost tender, "you are not wrong to seek answers. The chest is your destiny. It is the key to saving your people. But Nana Wanja says it is dangerous," Zuri replied, her voice filled with doubt. "She speaks from fear, not wisdom," the shadow said smoothly. "The chest holds great power, but only for those brave enough to claim it." "Are you brave, Zuri?" I don't know," she admitted. The shadow leaned closer, its presence almost comforting. "You are stronger than you think. Trust in me, and you will see the truth." When Zuri awoke, her heart was heavy with conflicting emotions. The shadow's words were tempting, but the warnings of Nana Wanja and the anger of Makalo echoed in her mind. She felt torn, caught between loyalty to her family and the pull of her own destiny. The drought worsened with each passing day, the land cracking beneath the sun's relentless heat. Whispers spread through the village like wildfire, whispers that the chest might hold the key to salvation. The elders argued beneath the baobab tree, their voices sharp with fear and frustration. The chest must remain sealed, one elder insisted. To open it would be to invite ruin. "And what if it is our only hope?" another countered. "We cannot sit idly by while our people suffer." Zuri watched from the edge of the gathering, her hands clenched at her sides. The weight of the villagers' desperation pressed down on her, mingling with her own doubts and fears. She felt the shadow's voice stirring in her mind, urging her forward even as she fought to resist. In the distance, the shrine stood silent and waiting, the chest at its heart like a beacon calling her name. Zuri knew that the choice she made would shape the fate of the village and her own. The moon hung low in the night sky, its light casting pale streaks across the village of Kamoya. The air was thick with an uneasy stillness, broken only by the distant hum of cicadas. Zuri's heart raced as she crept toward the shrine, her bare feet silent against the dusty ground. Her mind echoed with the shadow's haunting words, "Your destiny lies within the chest." The shrine loomed before her, its wooden beams worn smooth by generations of reverence. Inside, the chest sat waiting, its carvings seeming to shimmer under the faint glow of the moon. Zuri knelt before it, her hands trembling as she traced the intricate patterns etched into the wood. Each swirl and curve felt alive, as if the ancestors themselves were watching. "This is it," Zuri whispered, her voice barely audible. Slowly, she placed her palms on the chest's surface. A warmth spread through her fingers, growing stronger until it radiated through her entire body. The chest began to hum, a low vibration that filled the air. From within, voices rose, a chorus of ancestral whispers that grew louder, more insistent. The ground beneath Zuri shook, and she gasped as a golden light seeped through the cracks of the chest, illuminating the shrine in an otherworldly glow. Across the village, the light pierced the darkness, waking the villagers from their restless sleep. They stumbled out of their homes, murmuring in confusion and fear. "What is that?" an elder asked, shielding his eyes from the strange glow. "It's the shrine," someone else gasped. "The chest, it has been opened." A wave of panic swept through the crowd as they rushed toward the shrine, their voices rising in alarm. When they arrived, they found Zuri kneeling before the chest, her face illuminated by its golden light. "Zuri, no." Makalo's voice boomed, his expression a mix of fury and desperation. "What have you done?" The elders cried out in anguish, their hands clutching their heads. "The prophecy," one wailed. "She has broken the seal." The villagers' murmurs turned to shouts of horror as the chest suddenly burst open with a deafening crack. A blinding light erupted, followed by a whirlwind that tore through the shrine, scattering debris and shaking the very earth. The winds howled as the chest's light darkened, twisting into a shadowy mass that grew and morphed before their eyes. The shadow figure emerged, no longer cloaked in mist, but fully formed, a monstrous spirit with glowing red eyes and shifting, jagged limbs. "You fools," the spirit hissed, its voice like thunder rolling across the savannah. "You dared to break the seal. Now you shall reap the chaos your ancestors feared." As the spirit spoke, storms gathered in the sky, thunder rumbling as rain poured down in violent sheets. Crops withered before their eyes, livestock vanished into the darkness, and the land itself seemed to shrink under the spirit's wrath. Zuri stumbled backward, her eyes wide with terror. What have I done?" she whispered, her voice breaking. The spirit turned to her, its twisted face contorting into a sinister grin. "You, child, have unleashed me. And now I will feed on the fear and discord you have sown." Makalo stormed into the shrine, his voice trembling with rage. "Zuri," he shouted, grabbing her by the shoulders. "Do you see what you've done? You've brought ruin to our village." Zuri's tears fell freely as she shook her head. "I didn't mean for this to happen, Makalo. I thought I was helping." "Helping?" Makalo's voice cracked. "You have dishonored the ancestors, broken their trust, and doomed us all." "I'm sorry," Zuri cried, her voice raw with guilt. "I didn't know, I didn't understand." Their confrontation drew the attention of the villagers, who began shouting accusations at Zuri. "She's the reason for our suffering," one cried. "Her family kept secrets from us," another accused. Zuri's heart ached as she looked around, seeing the fear and anger in the eyes of her people. The village she loved was falling apart, and it was her fault. As chaos reigned, Nanawanja stepped forward, her voice cutting through the storm like a blade. "Enough," she commanded, her frail frame radiating an unexpected strength. The villagers fell silent, their eyes turning to the elder. "This is not the end," Nanawanja declared, her tone resolute. "The prophecy warned us of this day, but it also gave us the tools to overcome it." She turned to Zuri, her gaze piercing. "The chest was never meant to be opened, child. It was a lesson in restraint and unity. The chaos you see now is the result of our ancestors' greatest flaws, greed and betrayal." "What can we do?" Zuri asked, her voice trembling. "How do we stop this?" Nanawanja's expression softened. "The only way to restore balance is through an act of pure selflessness and unity. We must come together, as one, to seal the chest again." Zuri stepped forward, her hands shaking but her resolve firm. "I will make this right," she said, her voice steady despite her fear. "I will do whatever it takes to fix what I've broken." She turned to the villagers, her eyes filled with tears. "I know I've hurt you all. I've betrayed your trust and brought this suffering upon us. But I ask for your forgiveness. Please help me make this right." Makalo stepped beside her, his anger giving way to a grudging respect. "If my sister is willing to face this, then so am I. Let us end this together." Guided by Nanawanja, the villagers gathered around the shrine, holding hands and chanting the ancient prayers passed down through generations. Their voices rose in unison, a harmony that cut through the chaos. As Zuri faced the shadow figure one final time, it snarled, its form flickering as the villagers' unity weakened its hold. "You cannot defeat me," it hissed. "I am the greed that lives in all of you." "But you are wrong," Zuri replied, her voice calm and firm. "Our strength lies in our unity, in the bonds that tie us to each other and to our ancestors. You have no power here." The shadow let out a deafening roar as its form began to dissipate, its energy pulled back into the chest. With Makalo's help, Zuri pushed the lid closed, sealing the chaos inside. The storm subsided, the winds calmed, and the village was left in silence. The villagers stood together, their faces reflecting a mix of exhaustion and hope. Zuri turned to them, her voice trembling with emotion. "I promise to honor the wisdom of our ancestors and to rebuild what we have lost. I will never forget the lesson we have learned here." Nanawanja smiled faintly, her eyes glistening. "The story of the chest will live on, not as a tale of despair but as a lesson for future generations. We must always remember the strength that comes from unity and the dangers of selfishness." Under the baobab trees, the village began to heal, its people united once more. And though the scars of the storm remained, they stood as a reminder of the power of redemption and the enduring wisdom of tradition.